I'm ABC News entertainment correspondent David Blaustein, and one of the great things about my job is I get to hang out with some very talented people. The person sitting across from me is absolutely no exception. Lacey Mosley from Flyleaf, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
It's great to see you. We've met before. It's very nice that you came back. You weren't so offended that you refused to come back, which I guess is a good sign.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, for sure.
And I'm excited to have you here because I listened to your new album. It's called Memento Mori, which in Latin means be mindful of death, which is very deep and a little dark, but it also has some positive connotations too, and we'll discuss that in a minute. And this album is just, it's really fantastic. I don't normally gush over albums, especially when artists are in front of me, but you guys just did such a great job with this. I know you reteamed with Howard Benson, who produced your first album, but really great job. You guys have, you sound like you matured so much. Do you feel like you matured a lot?
We learned a lot for sure, yes.
What is different? What is different about making this album versus making Flyleaf?
Well, I think the biggest difference was just the experiences that we had were more worldwide than Temple, Texas, which was the first record. Just sitting at home, we did a lot of the songs while we were on tour with bands like Korn and Stone Sour and the Deftones, and the main writers on the record it would be me and Pat, the bass player, and Samir, the guitar player. Jared wrote one of the songs on the record. Everybody writes their own parts, so it makes Flyleaf what it is, and we wouldn't be the same without one member. So we've been writing. We just write. I mean, in response to life. That's just our personalities. We just write music in response to what goes on. So there is a new song every 2 months, anyway, no matter what. So.
This album feels so visceral to me, and having met you before and knowing a little bit of your story, I feel like you have a well of emotion to dig into that's as big as the Hoover Dam, and it's so apparent to me on every single song.
Wow.
But would you say that's accurate? I mean, I think your story is very compelling, and we don't need to get into the whole thing. I think anybody who's watching this is probably a fan of yours, so they know all about you. But again, a lot of these songs are so visceral. It just seems like it's right there for the taking. You just have to scratch the surface and you tap into it. Is that accurate?
If somebody was to say, we need a song, I couldn't do that. I just couldn't turn it on. I mean, I might come out with something, but it most likely wouldn't be something like you'd hear on Memento Mori. That was definitely a response to life, like a genuine pouring out of something. And when that happens, you can't stop from coming out. So, but then, it's not everything that moves me that way. Sometimes I go through periods where I just feel numb to everything, but that's not the way I feel when I'm writing. So,
I mean, even the title of the album, which I mentioned earlier, Memento Mori in Latin means be mindful of death. And I feel like that comes from your personal experience, and I will bring it up, but you were a day away from killing yourself, essentially. And I feel like that's part of where that title probably came from.
Well, I never thought about it in relationship to that. It really came from a new season of dealing with other people's deaths around us in the band. We grew up together pretty much in the band. Jared joined the band when he was 15, and everybody's family is our own families. So everybody's moms and became our moms, band moms. So when somebody loses a loved one in the band, we've all lost. And it was really, when we put the songs together, we looked through all of the songs as a whole and saw kind of a story go throughout all the songs, and the main theme was life is precious, make the most of every opportunity, appreciate where you're at.
I think there are some personal things on this album you try to impact. I believe your little sister. I think there are 2 songs on this album that are both very nice songs. One sounds like a lullaby. I think that's Set Apart This Dream. It's a very nice song. Why did you write these songs for your sister?
Well, actually, Set Apart This Dream was written by Samir, but when we went into the studio, and There For You was also written by Pat, which 2 of the songs that specifically made me think of my sister. Even at 10 years old, I remember thinking, I will never have kids because I don't want to bring them into this place. It's just so much that they get hurt by. I'm going to teach her before she has to face them, not to get into these things and not to talk to these kind of situations, like these people who would bring her into a bad place, because I saw my mom go through a lot of bad situations like hardship and hurt, and I just remember just wanting to protect her from all that. And when I got into the studio, it was like I just closed my eyes and sang it and thought of her. And so that's kind of where my sisters come in. But when we play live, the girls that are her age, it might as well just be her. I can't help think this is someone's sister, this was someone's daughter, this is someone's loved little girl, and they're going through so much, and it's just way more than a lot of times the people around them who could help them give them credit for. Like I've heard so many times like a teacher or a parent or somebody say, oh, you'll know what it's like when you get into the real world. But really, they're going through more at that age a lot of times than they're going to go through when they get out of it. Emotionally, just heavy. So obviously that's important to me for them.
And so this is a great example for kids, is that you guys toured Afghanistan. You did a small tour of Afghanistan. Tell me about that.
Well, Afghanistan was a life-changing experience for everybody in the band. And we went over there because I had a friend that was in the military, and one of the most lonely people that I've met because of the life that he has to live. He has to live 9 months out in the middle of nowhere with no contact and no family, and he lives in this, I'm a girl, so it may be different for guys, but he just felt like he was living in a cell with like these, just nothing, just like it looked like jail. Like there's nothing creative about the place that he stayed, and the people that he hung out with were, harsh. It's just I don't know, just the way that they live. It just makes me feel like I want to like shake their hand and say thank you for doing this. I want to hug them and say I'm glad you're home. When I see them in the airport or when I walk past somebody in uniform, I just want to say I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad you're home. Thank you for what you're doing. I want to say all the stuff. I don't. I don't have that long of a conversation. I'll shake their hand or tell them thank you. But so we went over and we saw, the most grateful audience we've ever seen in our lives. It was the most grateful group of people we've ever seen. Of course, they were all wearing, loaded guns and stuff the whole concert, which is different. But they were so thankful. And, we see stuff on the news and we don't really know what's going on. And it feels confusing and chaotic, and we don't really know if we know what we're doing over there. But then when you sit down with those guys, they're so focused, and then they say, we're here because we want you to be safe at home.
Was there a song that came out of that?
It was crazy that to play the songs for the troops over there. We played some of the new songs acoustic, and it's funny how much of our music fit in with what was going on over there, which totally fit in with war in general, but also, being mindful of death, being, your life is precious, and the lives of the people around you are precious, and you could tell that they totally got that.
Going to Afghanistan, you said, was a life-changing experience for you, but you had another life-changing experience besides becoming a rock star and becoming incredibly successful. You also got married, which is a life-changing experience. People can't see this, but your husband Josh is in the other room. So how's that going?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's so good for me. He's so good for me. I think most. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with being a woman, but maybe not. I know our tour manager is totally not like this. Her and her husband's roles are reversed. But I'm very emotionally driven in the things that I decide to do, the convictions I have, and choices I make. And he's very logical. He's emotional too, and he gets it. But he's very balanced. So I need that so bad. And the band likes me better now that I'm married because they love Josh. So it's been good in a million directions.
Lacey Mosley, the lead singer of Flyleaf, the new album is Memento Mori. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And I'm David Blaustein for ABC News Radio and abcnewsradio.com.